Well, here we are. It is Friday, November 10th, 2023. And this is, of course, the weekly video. We do these each Friday, talk about some auctions that have gone by. Some pretty good auctions happened this week, and I'm going to get into them very, very shortly. And there's some great stuff on eBay this week that I'm going to cover on the other side. All right, toward the end of the video. Right, as you can see, I'm not at home right now. I'm up in the house in New Hampshire, getting the place ready for winter. We spend a lot of time up here in the snowy season and in the summer too, if we can. And right now we're having work done to the house. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. So anyway, here we are. Couple of things I'm going to go through. First thing I want to talk about is some of the auctions that finished up this week. Druids over in Druids Donington Priory over in the UK had a couple of good auctions that finished up in the last week. We're going to go through the results there and see how they did. And we're going to start, though, with this. This was that very interesting reticulated basket that was on Doyle's on a sale just this past week on the 9th. And we talked about it last week because I thought it was such a pretty piece of porcelain. I thought it was a beautiful example, and I thought it would do pretty well, and it ended up doing just fine. It sold for $1,200 plus premium, so it pretty much finished up, around double the high estimate, but not a surprise. I think everybody that looked at it, I got a couple of emails from people that were looking at it, and I hope one of you were the people that bought it, because it's a great thing. It's a very, very fine example, and I went into some detail about why. But the shape, form, and style of it is quite unusual. It's beautifully done and very, very, it looked to be in outstanding condition. And judging by the price, I guess it probably was. I didn't see the condition report for it, but a really nice piece of porcelain that doesn't come up very often. It's one of my favorite things. The other thing that did just fine, this was at Alex Cooper, I believe, right? Alex Cooper had this? Yeah, the Alex Cooper sale the other day had this pear-shaped bladder form bottle vase, sang de bouffe. It had a very modest estimate of $600 to $800. And as we expected, and I think everybody that collects monochromes expected, it brought $2,250 plus the premium. So it ended up being around almost $3,000. It was a very nice example, and it was pretty good size. It's 13 inches tall, which is a big for one of these. As you know, most of these little monochromes, they tend to be 8-10 inches or so. This was a fairly big one compared to others that are around. So good on that. The other thing was this didn't sell, and I'm at a complete loss as to why. This was at Druids, and this was a 47 centimeter tall vase. So it was just a hair under, just around 20 inches. And it was a nice big vase, dragon pattern, and it had an interesting ownership history, which maybe nobody read. But there's the bottom of it, clearly a 19th century example, nicely done, in very, very good condition. And it had belonged to, this is the interesting part, it had belonged to Jane Bond, who was and here it is in a portrait. She was an artist in the UK. She was did set design. She was involved with television, but she was very, very well known for portraits. And here it is in a portrait that she did, and it's incorporated into the background. She's a listed artist, and she studied their history, City of Guilds and London School of Art in 1978 and 1981, the Royal Academy, and so forth. And all of that, but plus the vase was worth it. It only had an opening bid of 1,200 euros or 1,200 pounds, 12 to 1,500, and it got a few bids, but the bids died at 1,100. I have no idea why. This was a big bottle, and very attractive all the way down. I love the dragon on it. Probably first half of the 19th century. If you're one of these people that you want to run around after post sale and try to buy something, this is something worth buying. This is a very nice porcelain. I thought the estimate was low, and it didn't sell. So it happens. All right, and then on to this. This didn't sell either, and I'm tempted myself to order it and buy it if it's possible. This was a nice a root and hardwood carving of a shulao that was late Qing or Republic period, they think, 62 centimeters tall. This thing is 25 inches in height. A very, very nice example. It had a 1 to 200 pound estimate, and it passed. It didn't even get a starting bid, and I have no idea why. If one of you went to this sale and looked at it, let me know why it didn't sell. It's a total mystery to me, and it could probably be bought post sale for $100. The only thing that's holding me back is I'm fearful of the shipping from the UK for something this size, because it's going to require a large box, and that can get unfortunately very expensive. And Dritz does not provide shipping, which, as everybody knows, I think if you're running an auction house and you're selling online and you're a substantial auction house like Dritz is, you're out of your minds if you don't offer shipping. You're absolutely out of your minds, because people like me, a lot of people in the U.S. would buy from here if they could look down and see what the shipping is going to be. And they don't provide it, which means you have to go to their guy and mess around with it. The hell with it. But at any rate, Dritz, if you see this, hire some people, offer shipping. I think you'll see better results, and you won't have. You had a lot of buy-ins in this sale, and I think part of it is the shipping, because you have a global audience for Asian art, and you're not going to reach them if you don't offer shipping. And this was another example. These went for nothing, $500, 500 pounds for the lot. As everybody knows, these figures, groups like these at Christie's and Sotheby's, sell fairly routinely. In a group this big, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 9, or excuse me, 6, 8 pieces rather. Excuse me, I miscounted. Typically sell in the $3,000 to $5,000 range. And we've shown examples of these in the past. These are very nice. It's an assembled set. These are not all original to one another. This was an assembled set. But the Harlequin figure in the back here with that pattern is very unusual. And these brought almost, 500 sold for. They only had a couple of bids. They opening bid, closing bid. That was it. And they were estimated very modestly at 600 to 800 pounds. They dated them properly as 18th or 19th century. Total mystery, other than it may have held people back because they didn't want to mess with the shipping. All right, and this is the kind of thing they lost out on, because these should have brought $3,000 or $4,000. All right, and then this did well. This was a very nice Japanese Arita porcelain vase. It was quite large, 18th century, and what was it? This thing was big. It was like, as I recall, it was about 20 something inches tall. Hold on a second. Is the measurement was in here? I saw the measurement somewhere. 81 centimeters. Okay, so it was more than that. It was 25, 26, 20. Let me see. 81 centimeters, 10, 4, 20, 28 inches tall plus. 28 or 9 inches tall. Beautiful piece of Amari. Wonderful, wonderful example. Had a very fine base and cover, matching cover. And any of you that have been buying stands lately know that a stand like the one on this would sell for probably $500 to $700, and the lid would too. So it adds a lot to value these days if you have a good lid and base on it. The base on this looks very Chinese, but it doesn't matter. It works well with the vase. A beautiful example. I don't see any wear to it. I don't see any repairs. And it did very, very well. And there was a note in here saying that it had sold a number of years ago, back in about 12 years ago, when the Japanese market still had a little life left in it. And it sold for 7,500 pounds. And this time around, it brought 4,500 plus the buyer's premium, so it hadn't gone up much, and the seller may have lost 1,000 or so pounds on it, and that's mainly because the Japanese market is still pretty soft in places, and it needs some support. But Japanese things in England sell pretty well because a lot of English collectors do collect it, so that's a benefit for them as a seller. All right, and then this was another great bargain here. This was a lot of 3 vases. They all bronzes. They all appear to be Ming, or one in the middle looks like it's later Yuan dynasty. It's around 12 inches tall, and all 3 of them sold for just $733 US plus premium, so around $900 for all 3 bronzes. They dated them accurately, Yuan to Ming, and they need an oil. They need a little attention. They look like they have a little bit of neglect, probably maybe stored in a moist area. But these bronzes would clean up beautifully, especially the one on the left that's got those lobes in it and all that relief work. This would come out rather stunning with a little bit of oil and not polishing, just lightly oiling it, cleaning it up a little. It would look very, very nice. And the one on the right they all have their rings still attached. And these dragon heads are quite detailed on the one on the right. So anyway, somebody got a great buy. I expect they'll get them cleaned up, made presentable, and they'll probably get somewhere in the range of $800 to $1,100 each for them when they go to sell them if they're a dealer. If you're a collector, you just got some very nice things to put in your collection. And then there was this. This is a really nice thing. One of these trick cups with the lady in the center. This was a very finely decorated example. Beautiful figures, wonderfully spaced, nice quality. She's got a big, broad smile on her face. Nice piece of porcelain. And these don't turn up very often. If they do, they tend to be damaged. The figure in the middle, the interior figure, tend to be sort of wrecked. For some reason. I don't know why they get such a hard life, but they do. And there's the bottom of it with the fill hole and so forth. Very, very nice cup. Did very well. It sold for $3,423 plus premium. So it ended up going for about $4,500. But these always do if they're in good shape and they're very nice quality enameling and they're not worn. Wear on these is the kiss of death. All right, now, what's the next thing on here? Oh, yes, the Kangi vase. These were all on the global member pages, by the way. This whole sale was. I showed a lot of it. There were a few pieces I didn't like, and a few pieces they didn't bother dating because they suspected, I'm sure, that they were reproductions. But there was this with the Tang Dynasty general in the middle and all these figures. This is a nice piece of Kangi. It had a hole in the bottom. It had been drilled and it was missing its lid, but a fairly rare type. Nice colors, well drawn, lots of activity on it, and people love vases with lots of human activity on them. But I thought the clouds on this were particularly well done. Beautifully, they look like like smoke flowing through the air. Had a really nice look to it. And I like the yellow a lot. I like this soft, translucent yellow that they used. And you'll notice that the folds and the robes were all beautifully done, and then little spritz of trees coming out at the bottom and so forth. Very nicely done. Rather ambitious vase. And everybody loved it, even with the hole in the bottom and missing its lid. Sold for 9,000 pounds plus premium, so around $12,500. It only had a very modest estimate, 1,000 to 1,500 pounds, which we knew it would go right through that. And it measured about 14 inches tall, so it was a pretty good sized vase. Be 15 inches if it had its lid. Throw a stand under it, and now it's 17 inches tall. But a nice thing. And then this dragon silk kisi panel that we talked about a few weeks ago. I thought it was so nice. I think it was the best silk in the sale. I think it was the one that brought the most money. But I don't think it brought too much. I think this is a wonderful example. Beautiful color, very animated, great expression on the dragon's face here. Lots of gold thread all through his body and along the scales. This beautiful sort of pinky apricot background. Very, very crisply done. Nicely done all the way around. And it was pretty good size, too. It was 115 centimeters by 47 centimeters. So it was 30 inches tall and roughly 4 feet, almost 4 feet long. So it was a pretty good sized piece of silk. 18th century. They dated it as 19th century. I don't think it was. I think it was older than that. I think it was an 18th century silk, and I think the price suggested so did the audience. But it doesn't matter. It was an awfully nice thing. Really, really attractive. And then down to this. This was one of the most interesting things in the sale. If you like 18th century enamels, this is a very interesting box. It is on copper, and this is all sort of the decoration is like trompe-l'oeil painting on the outside of these of the archaistic figures and so forth, and then a blue and white landscape on top. This is a really unusual. It's probably an ink box, I suspect, and has this very, very nice classical Chinese landscape scene of the building, the boatman, and the rising mountains in the background, and the misty-coated mountains in the further background. Pine trees and so forth, but a beautifully done box, wonderful decoration. And this had come from the home of an artist, I believe. I think that's what it said in the description, which doesn't surprise me, because it was just, somebody that's around art that appreciates it. You're going to pick out unusual things like this instantly. Even if you don't know a lot about them. It's just because it's so visually appealing. And these aren't big. This box is only probably 4 inches or so, I suspect. 5 centimeters long, 4 centimeters by 3 centimeters. So it's fairly small. And it had belonged to Cambier Guy. He was an English artist, and they don't know when he bought it. He passed away in 2008. It says, wait a minute, he bought it here it is. He bought the item in either China or Japan in the 1960s or 70s. Any rate, it did very well. It brought 7,300 plus premium, so U.S. dollars, so around 10,000 by the time it was all done. But a really unusual example. Had an extremely low estimate, $800 to $1,200, but just a very elegant thing. Really, really was. And then over to this. This was at Grogan's. I'm going to talk about the Grogan sale a little bit. Grogan had Michael Grogan in Boston here. They were the ones that had that wonderful sale by the Armenian brothers a month or so ago. This is some residual property from that state. This had belonged to Vartan Gagosian. He and his brother had that great export porcelain collection. But he also had this. This is Japanese Amari, and it is an enormous charger, 24 inches. We talked about it a few weeks ago when it first got posted. I thought this was just a very unusual piece of Amari ware. Love the birds, love the flowers, in very, very fine condition. And in the end, it did just fine. It brought $1,700 plus premium, so around $2,400. But a very unusual and rare type, and a lot more than what typical Meiji period Amari have been bringing these days. But it was quite unique looking. I liked it a great deal. And then over here to this, the rug. I mentioned this rug in a video just because I love rugs and carpets, and I thought this was it was a late 19th century Harise, but done in the classical sort of 17th and 18th century design with these palmettes. A very, very classical Persian type of rug, but the palmettes on it were wonderful. And notice the border, very soft, warm, almost rust apricot border, with the flowers and vine border going in the outside. Now, this was an enormous rug. It was 12 by 21 feet, which is, 270 square feet of carpet. It's a lot of rug. If you have the room for it, though, what a rug. And it had nice airbrush, nice shifts in color going through it. The red was strong, the blues were nice, and it was just put together perfectly. This was a very, very nice rug. This rug in the 90s, when Oriental rugs were all the rage, probably would have sold for $30,000 to $40,000 back then, because it was so striking. And it not taking anything away from the rug. I think it was absolutely worth it. Grogan is an old rug. He's a rug guy. He ran the appraisal department at Sotheby's many, many years ago before opening his place. And he specialized before doing that in carpets. He knows an enormous amount about rugs. And this was a good one. 12'8" by 21.3 inches. Came from a home in a historic house in Connecticut, the Mansfield Center. And it ended up selling for $13,000 plus premium. So it was around 17 or 18,000 by the time it was all paid for. But absolutely stunning carpet. Absolutely stunning. And then the Kangi bowls. I put a bid on these and didn't get them, but they were damaged. They had staples in them. They had cracks in them, but they were very big, 13 inches in diameter, nice femi-vert palette, and very unusual with these compartmentalized areas depicting different scenes from Chinese life, figures, musicians, people on horses, all kinds of stuff going on here. Absolutely fascinating pair of bowls in a pair. And you don't see these in pairs very often. They were only estimated $700 to $1,000, and they ended up selling for 95 plus premium, so around 13,000 for the two. And it sort of gives you an idea what they'd be worth if they were perfect. I think they probably would have been worth 50 to 70,000 for the pair if they were perfect, somewhere around there. But these were wonderful, and I'm sure someone's going to get these restored, because these are so striking and very unusual. The stands don't match, I noticed. That's sort of curious, but it doesn't matter. They're just stands. And they came down with a Boston family. And then last is this. This was something that was in a sale up at this was Smith's, right? No, Crescent City Auction Gallery in Louisiana had these. They were on the global member pages. I left a bit. I tried hard to get these. This is a very fine 17th century bamboo cup with its original tin liner, and they never have the tin liners in them. Similar examples have gone through Sotheby's and Christie's. There's one in the famous two-volume set of bamboo on bamboo, that big two-volume set some of you probably have. You'll find this nearly identical example in there. It has been crusty and ignored, but cleaned up. This has such a good old surface on it, and overall it looked like it was in quite good condition. And I think that it had maybe a small chipper in the wood somewhere or something very minor. But here it is, and oiled and cleaned and brought back to life. This thing would absolutely glow. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing. And the estimate was peanuts on it, 300 to 500, and of course it just flew. Went for 2,300 plus premium, so around $3,000 for the brush, for the cup or a little pot. But an exceptional thing, very, very attractive. And that was sort of it for the. Now we're going to get into the eBay results for the week. Before we do, meant to mention this. If you've been thinking about joining us over on Patreon, I'm going to mention this just because I'm repetitive. If you come over to the Patreon site, you're going to find, like we've been putting up for the subscribers here and on the global member pages, we've been doing these sort of like little mini videos about things that I've collected, stories and whatnot. And there's one up there right now. You don't have to be a member to see it. I've sort of made it public to give you a sense of what's over here. And if you like it, it's about 8 or 10 minutes long. We do a couple of them each week. Just little small videos, and they're very casual, a little different than what I normally do. And if you like them, subscribe. And we also have we've added to the collections here. I'm trying to build it out to make it, really worthwhile for folks to subscribe. And we've linked this page now to the global member pages. So if you have a global member page membership and you want to switch over, you can do it, and you won't lose the global member pages. And we have the book reference library on Bitamount linked in here now directly, so you don't have to go over to the site and then go down to it. And there are books and catalogs and the videos and auction news and all this other stuff. Just to let you know. All right, it's $5 a month, a whopping $5, and it helps the site. It's how we pay for everything. Now, what happened on eBay last week? Oh, if you haven't subscribed here yet on YouTube, please do. Please do. All right, now, this week's newsletter page I've already posted it because I was waiting around for some work to get done. There was a bit of noise in the neighborhood. They were cutting down some big trees, and so I updated the page already. So if you've already seen it, that's fine. If you haven't, go over and check it out. There's a lot of material on here this week. So a lot of good stuff we dug out, so check that out. But the results for last week were quite good. This was that nice little bronze Fu Lion. It was adorable little bronze. Late Ming. It sold for $418, and what was it? 3 inches or something. Yeah, small one, 3 inches, but very nice with a good patina on it. Nice old surface. And I love the expression on his face. Fu Lions have a hard time looking terribly ferocious, and this is why. He's not very scary looking. He looks like he's like a puppy trying to be scary, and then he has this skinny little body. It's terrific. And ended up going for $418. Nice object though, very nice object. And then there was this Nonya Straits Famille Rose Jardiniere, late 19th century to early Republic maybe. They dated it as 19th. This was Migueleri had this, and it did pretty well. It brought $933. These Nonya Straits pieces are still of a lot of interest to people, and there's a number of them on there. There's a very good big jar coming up that I'm going to talk about at the end. It's from there. And then there was this, the Famille Rose 18th century, probably Qianlong vase with the person trying to ride or hold the deer back. Nice colors, very attractive Meiping. Very, very attractive. I don't know if all of you took a look at this, but there's the decoration. There he is. Beautiful face. Love how the eyes are drawn, the red lines outlining the eyes. and the expression on his face, his little whiskers, and he's holding a rue scepter, and he's holding onto the spotted deer. And nice vase, very nice maping. And there's the back of it with a simple flower and citron fingers of Buddha, the plant back here. Uh, this did very well. It sold for $3,963. It wasn't terribly big. It was, what was it, about 7 inches in height. There it is, 18 centimeters. Fairly small vase, but very, very finely done. And it had a flat, unglazed foot rim that was fairly wide. It had one of these broad, and you do see these from time to time there. This type of foot. They did do them. They often get confused with the broad, unglazed foot rims you find underneath Japanese pieces sometimes. But this is the foot rim. On the Japanese example, it's a recessed area up inside the bottom of the piece, and then it has a foot rim going around it. In this case, the broad flat area is the foot rim, and it cants inward a bit, so the only part that's on a surface is this outer edge. So when you see these, always look for wear on this edge. And if it has no wear on it, put it down and run for your life. All right, now, the armorial bowl with the Chinese figures and the lady with the 2 court attendants here. This did fine. It brought $978. This wasn't a particularly large tray, but it was very, very nice. It was in beautiful condition. And the workmanship was excellent. And that's what you're paying for. You pay for the art that's on there. And this was very nicely done. Very attractive heraldic crest at the bottom and an additional crest at the top. Good looking thing. And then this is a late 19th century a dragon jar. It's missing its lid, didn't have the lid on it, but a very unusual color and an extremely pleasing color. This deep, almost brownish egg yolk color. Very, very attractive. And the dragon was nicely incised into the body and then enameled. A lot of work went into this. This was a really fine late Qing example. Very, very nicely done. 4-clawed dragon, clouds, and all kinds of different colors and one thing and another, and just nice rue heads at the top. And there's detail of it. This was a nice piece of porcelain, and they do turn up. Now, there are fakes of these around. This isn't a fake. There's the bottom of it. It's got this sort of irregularly glazed foot, which you often see on these. Sometimes it's not a perfectly straight line. It sort of flows up and down along these edges. You can see it here and here and here. That's normal. There was a hairline in the bottom, but it didn't seem to go anywhere. So it's probably from firing. Crack formed after it was fired, and they thought it was still good enough to sell, and it was. And this sold for $835 US. And then over here to this was this very nice Japanese. They called it Hirado. I don't think it is. The glaze had too much orange peel in it. It's Japanese, clearly, but I don't think it was Hirado ware. But awfully attractive bottle vase. Very, very pretty, very delicately done. Nice long neck. And notice how the leaves twist climbing up it rather than going straight up like you typically see on Chinese pieces. On this one, they sort of twisted the leaf tips climbing up the vase. And it did well. It brought $497. It was nice. They called it a Takuri sake bottle. I don't think it is. I think it's a flower vase, but that's okay. Stubbsy Wubsy had it. Maybe he looked up and found a picture of it somewhere and they described it that way. I'm not sure. But he's a good seller. He gets good things. He gets really good things. All right. Now, what's coming up? There's some good things coming up this week. One of them is this very nice. It's a 19th century vase, but it's beautifully potted and beautifully colored. Nice high gloss glaze, Lang Yao finish on it. The bottom of it looks absolutely fine. Late Qing, I suspect. And the top of it is not ground, from what I can tell. When I first saw it, I thought maybe it's ground because this form of vase sometimes comes with the sort of rolled over rim, the more open mouth to it. But sometimes they just go up. And I looked at this one, and there is a reflection right here indicating there's glaze there and here. So it wasn't cut down and polished like so many are. That was the height. That was the top, and they added the white tip to it. Very nicely done all the way around. And this is up right now. It's up to $228. It ends on Sunday this week. It'll be on the newsletter page. So do check it out. Price expectation probably $600 to $800, somewhere around there. But a very attractive vase. And then this is Joni's up in Canada has gotten a hold of some pretty good porcelain this time around. They've got a nice pair of very unusual. If you collect unusual 18th century porcelains with atypical patterns, this is it. This is a really interesting pair of plates. Um, Here we go. I don't even know what they're called. They look like they have these sort of quasi, almost like they were going to start doing Shao characters and then they just didn't do it. The back of them have sort of an apocryphal looking, almost like a Japanese mark on the back, but these are not Japanese, and I'm sure they've confused people through the years. And they each have slightly different marks, but it looks one of them looks almost not this one. This one almost looks like a Fuku mark, but it's not. And I'm not sure what mark that is. And then they have the little Dremel tool, not Dremel tools. They sometimes chip characters into the backs of porcelains. But these are very nice. They measure about 8 inches in diameter. There's only these just went up. These have only been up about 24 hours. They should do pretty well because they're unusually patterned, and I like the freehand drawing of the borders. The borders look rather freely drawn, as does the center, as a matter of fact. So I hope one of you go do some digging on blue and white wares, see if you can find anything with this pattern and this style done. I can't think of one. Very, very unusual. And for that reason alone, they may not bring a lot because people say, well, I don't know what it's worth because I can't find the price on another one. This is the kind of thing you buy with your gut. And if you like them, buy them. And by buy them, I mean maybe $500 a piece, because I think they're pretty terrific, and maybe more. And then uh, this is the funniest listing. This is a very nice, fairly well-known type of cloisonne that was made in the late 19th century, second half of the 19th century. Nice big moon flask, and it's got these nicely done food lions on the top, right? Is really, really good looking. And down in the bottom, it's up to 1,400. This vase will probably end up selling for around 3,500 to 5,000. It's a big vase. It's 17. What is this thing? The height on this thing? There's a 15 inches. There it is. 15 inches, 15.3 inches in height. But down here in the bottom, he's got a funny, I don't know what it says minor imperfections from firing and age, that's all normal, and use related, needs a polish and cleaning to make it shine again. If any of you buy this, do not polish this, please. It's got a wonderful old surface on it. Maybe wipe it down with a damp rag if you have to do anything, but don't polish that. My God. I don't know what the guy is thinking. You don't polish old cloisonne pieces like that. You just don't. So anyway, I don't know what he was. I don't know what. It just strikes me as such a funny thing to say. It's like somebody selling an old piece of American furniture and saying when you get it home you can sand the top and revarnish it. No, you leave the surfaces alone. All right, and then over to this. This is going to be on there. This is nice, and it's fairly unusual. It's a piece of Ching Bai, either Song or Yuan dynasty, of a little boy holding up a vase. Very nicely done. This is a fairly rare bird. I like it a lot. It's got that nice bluish tinge to it. The bottom of it, I'm not sure what those scratches are on the bottom, but the rest of it looks absolutely fine. It looks like you can still see the edges of these black areas that were supporting it in the kiln. It ends in 2 days. It's up to $57. Should bring 500 to 700 or 400 to 600, somewhere around there anyway. And it's fairly small. These are always fairly small. This one's probably only a couple inches tall. 3.5 inches, 5 inches in height. Actually, it's a pretty big one, but it's not terribly big. It's 5 inches, but it's a nice example. It's only up to $57. Should bring 600 to 800 if it's 5 inches in height, maybe more, maybe $1,000. And this is something that's being offered by JG Arts over in the UK. Nice standing figure of a Ming bronze playing looks like he's getting ready to play the flute, but nice patina on it, nicely done robes, standing on a plinth. Why am I getting notifications? This is good. Nice surface on it, and it is good size. It's not a real small one. It's 17 centimeters in height, so it's about 7 inches tall, 8 inches tall, and for a Ming bronze like this, it's pretty good size. It's only up to $94. It closes on Monday. This coming Monday, but don't go in and put a bid on the thing so you don't lose it if you collect old Ming bronzes. This is a rather unusual one. It could be early Qing too. It's entirely possible, very early, but it's certainly an old one, and it should bring $800 to $1,000, maybe a little more. And then this is that Straits porcelain jar I was talking about with phoenixes on it, with this wild pink background. This is a big jar. This is not a 9 or 10 inch jar. I want to double check the height on it. I like it a lot. It's very pretty. There's the bottom of it. 17 inches tall, 10 inches wide. Nice big jar. Beautiful color. It looks like it's in quite good shape. Is there any repair to the lid or anything? Nope. There's the inside of it. Nice decoration, very strong, vibrant colors, like you often see with the Straits wares. There it is. And they did. It's funny because they did very similar ones with white backgrounds and phoenixes and big peonies and chrysanthemums and all kinds of flowers on them. And they would not been considered for the Straits community necessarily, but when they use these very vibrant color palettes. That's how they end up classified that way. It's up to $207. It's got 10 days to go, 9 days to go. It just went up, and I expect this will bring $3,500 to $5,000 maybe. It's a very nice pot, and it's exceptionally big, 17 inches in height. Nice jar. And this is another jar they have up. When I saw it, I thought, geez, is that a repro? No, it's not. It's a big pot with a dragon on it, and the details all look good. The glaze looks nice, soft, slightly bluish tone to the glaze. There's the interior. It's a legitimate looking wreck. They have that trimmed unglazed base on it. They've dated it as what are they calling it? 17th century Chinese vase, Kangxi period. So they think it's early Kangxi period apparently. I'm not sure, but it's in that range certainly. Dragon's nicely done. The shape is a bit unusual for Kangxi. It's more of a Ming shape, but it's not a Ming jar, so kind of makes sense, I guess. And it should do very well. This is a nice pot. As I recall, it was around 12 inches in height. Joni's always puts their measurements way at the bottom. 12 and a half inches tall. And it should do, expect it if you like this kind of thing. And it looks like it's in good condition. I don't see any damage to it. So expect it to bring, 4 to 6,000, 3,500 to 5,000, somewhere in there. But very attractive with multiple dragons running all the way around it. That's the thing that's really nice. You got them ascending up, sort of coming up out of the water, going down into the water, because they often show them ascending and descending. And here you have one sort of skipping along the top of the water. And here's another one of them skipping along the top of the water. So you have one going up, one going down, and two sort of traveling along the surface. Very interesting pot like that. And then over to this. This is, if you're an Americana, Chinese or China trade collector, not American China trade necessarily, but China trade, and you like really great things. This is a nice one. There's a ship from the British Admiralty in it. It's a 17-inch platter, Fitzhugh pattern, but extremely fine. This is that, we've talked about these many times. This is that class of Fitzhugh where they had the very fine honeycomb border around the outside. Some of the gilding is even still present off to the edge here, which is really unusual. Usually that gilding is long gone. And a monogram at the top. They don't identify what collection it had come out of, but clearly a very fine, probably late Qianlong. It could have been possibly made a little bit into the early 19th century, but I don't think so. This looks like an 18th century one to me. But very fine quality with the British flagship in the middle and a monogram and the butterflies and all this. This is a really lovely example. And it just went up. It's up right now. It's at a whopping $9.50. It should bring $1,000, or 800 to 1,000 anyway. But it's a very nice thing. If you like these things, go in and whack this thing right now and leave a bid on it, because it's a beautiful example, top quality cobalt decoration. This kind of cobalt decoration, I've said it many times, is as good as anything they did on blue and white imperial ware. Anything they did is just as good as this is just as good as that. Unbelievably fine work. And right now it's at $9.50. All right. So that's about it for the week. And we're going to be up here for another couple of days and then head back down to Massachusetts. And thanks for watching. Leave a comment. I just heard from somebody today that I wanted to do an interview with. We're going to be doing it. She's an author, has written some books, a very interesting collector herself. And we're going to be doing that in a couple of weeks. When we get back, we'll organize that. And in the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your weekend and see you all soon. All right. Bye-bye.